YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we are going to be reviewing One Piece chapter 1090. Man, we're getting up there, and the chapter is Kizaru. And please like and subscribe if you haven't. This is Akainu Fanboy. The other guy's Geboss, and we basically resume from the terrible break week, and we get Luffy being shy and subtle and beating around the bush per usual.
Yeah. We get him just telling everyone his catchphrase that he's going to be king of the pirates. And we get to see Morgan's listening in, which
yes.
I wasn't expecting. I
wasn't at all either.
Yeah. But I wonder if that means that he's... So, do like the transponder snails have a distance that they can do? Or is like he close to Egghead at all, or what do you think?
I think I think he's very good at like tapping in on information too, and like spying at the same time.
Yeah. But I don't know if he's close, then that would be a way for VD to get to connect with the Straw Hats again.
And join the crew.
Yeah.
Right.
Bring her back.
But it was kind of interesting because Gorosei still have an interest in Nico Robin too, because they made notice of that as well, hearing her voice over the phone. The Dendemushi. And then we basically see Saturn, where they talk about the three things that we need to secure: York's safety, the Punk records, and the Mother Flame. And potentially the rest can be sacrificed.
Yeah. So even this is Vice Admiral Doberman, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Even he's like shook by that.
Well, this is what's kind of an ironic aspect of this, is how Doberman was the one that told the backstory about Rob and Lucci back in the Enies Lobby arc, and he was also kind of the big promoters of absolute justice too, and that same thing, where, remember, they were going to fire on their own men basically at Enies Lobby because Luffy was in their target site. And Doberman said, we have to do it because of absolute justice. And then he starts to talk about, Lucci and everything. But now here, it's kind of ironic that, like, the two promoters... Well, I know, like, Lucci is more dark justice, but kind of the more upholders of absolute justice, as soon as they get the guys pulling on them, it's like, hey, that's kind of messed up. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah. I was also kind of... We always knew that the elders were bad guys, but just hearing Saturn straight up say, like, human life holds no more value than that of an insect, just really puts it into perspective, like where they lie in terms of their morals. Because I think that they've probably had like the immortality surgery, and they've been around so long that they don't even think of themselves as humans.
Yeah, and so, like, even the most strict adherents in the Marines are nowhere near as bad as the Gorosei, because Doberman's probably one of the most fanatical absolute justice people. And this is probably the second moment in the whole series where we've shown him, having him show compassion. Well, the other instance is non-canon when it filmed Z. Spoiler alert, when Z's getting killed, Doberman showed emotion with his sensei getting killed and everything.
Yeah, but Film Z's non-canon, so...
Yeah, I made that indicator. Yeah, I'd say, like, these
that's
only
why,
times...
That's why we can ignore the Sanji stuff in that movie.
Yeah, but, so, and then we have basically, York, begging to be saved, and then we also see, Lucci slowly, getting some intel, too, at the same time.
Yeah. I was surprised, because we see, like, Robin and Kaku completely laid up, like, covered in bandages, which I was surprised about, because last time we saw both of them, I had to double check. Robin was with, I think it's Edison and Chopper, and they were going to some sort of lab. And that was the last we saw of them. And then we saw Kaku fighting. It makes sense how he got his injuries. Like, he says, like, oh, I should have been able to handle 2 no good Seraphim.
Yeah. Yeah, because we saw Saji clashing with the Jinbei Seraphim last time, right? And then, so yeah, but Kaku got messed up a little bit, and then, what I do kind of find interesting with this though is, why do you think Lucci's, at least from what we can tell, going back to the government as of now?
I mean, end of the day, it's his orders that he's following. Even though he might have, like we saw with Doberman, that he questions it, it's still his duty to fill them out. Do you have any other thing that you were thinking about?
No, that's fair. I mean, he's been hunted down and betrayed by the government before in the CP9 cover story, right?
Yeah.
He came back and... Well, couldn't you say, like, when he was getting hunted down by the Seraphim, though, that was more York and not really the Gorsei?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, maybe he just kind of saw it as, like, a moment of convenience, but... you know, there could still be, like, an over long-term case for Lucci where he eventually does lead the world government, though. So...
But, I mean, at the end of the chapter, we see that he's feeding information to Kizaru and Saturn.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about long-term in terms of the story.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, just slowly losing trust. Because I think there's still more going on with this character. I think Oda's making him a little bit more complex and everything. But they seem to have pacified Seraphim as of now. And then what do you think about Boa sharing the personality? Seraphim Boa sharing the personality from Boa.
I mean, it makes sense why it would, but I mean, this opens up the questions of how many things are gonna be passed down, like personality wise, because like is S Shark gonna join them because Jinbei is part of the crew? Or
yeah, that's true.
Like, it's about that, because even she's the only one that we've seen kind of have like actual emotions, because like with S Bear, S Shark, S Hawk, we really haven't seen personality wise theirs, but maybe because her synthetic fruit is based on the real fruit that is that deals with emotions.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
No. I think that's yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it. I did kind of think it was. So I think I know we're kind of going back and forth a little bit on this, but well, maybe I could talk about the rest of it later. I just think it's a little uneasy how easily they've had the Seraphim detained, and I think it could be a ticking time bomb in the background. You know, just when the Cyberpol agents say, "I see, what a relief. I guess we can rest easy."
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I definitely think Lucci's up to something, but yeah, the Seraphim are definitely still a wild card, because even though they're they're locked up, they're still not completely under control. Mm-hmm. And I was rereading the parts just before this because I wanted to refresh myself, because we've been gone from Egghead for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did see all the bubble tech. Like Frankie was fighting S-Snake with it.
Right.
And it does take away Devil Fruit powers.
Yeah. So yeah, it does kind of seem a little bit out of nowhere when we've been gone for so long from this place for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool how they kind of explained the dynamics and everything. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But then also when we get to, I guess the next island's confirmed, so we have that there.
Yeah. Just really quick, I did like the one, just the panel of the Cypher Pole agents getting fed.
Oh yeah, that was a cool panel.
Yeah, because it's just it's really what like Luffy was fighting for in Wano.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
It shows that they aren't just bad guys, even though they still have them locked up. They can at least feed them.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, Elbaf.
It's confirmed.
Yeah. We've been waiting for this for a long time.
So big meme stocks might be up for her being alive.
I still think she's gonna show up.
We'll see. Yeah.
I still think, even though in the anime she's out, I still think she's coming back.
Yeah, no. I think it's more evidence pointing towards that direction now, but I think that's pretty cool. And then Usopp and Luffy are plenty hyped for it, or they're singing. When's the last time we've seen Luffy and Usopp sing like that?
It's been a long time, because like I keep complaining that there's not as much interaction with the crew as with the pre-time skip. But yeah.
So it's nice to see that again. Lucci still pisses Stussy. I'd say another indicator here why I'm getting more pushed towards the idea that this escape isn't going to turn out as well as they thought. Just whenever so it's kind of like with Big Mom, right? When they tried to assassinate her, they tried to explain the plan with Capone, and then the plan went to shit with Capone, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I see what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is with Luffy all the time. Nothing goes right for them. Because if it did, it would be a boring story.
Well, especially with Vegapunk too. Just him on the giant robot, yay, we're gone, with everybody else and all the Seraphim, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Oda's starting to set up. I think that it's less likely Luffy gets a total victory, how some people were predicting, is what I'd say.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it at the end of the final panel for the end of the chapter.
I think a partial loss is more likely now. I think the more and more we see these panels, but yeah. So it is cool to see some interaction between Frankie and Vegapunk as well. Mm-hmm. I do like back and forth.
Yeah, they needed the interaction this arc between the two. Would you consider Frankie a scientist too, or just a carpenter? Because he does a lot with robotics too.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fair to say he's a scientist at this point with his inventions.
Yeah, and I like the little thing how Vegapunk was shocked that the Sunny ran on cola. Yeah,
for sure. And then we get Bonnie over here too. So it was interesting to hear her compliment Sanji, but Sanji's nowhere to hear it or anything,
Yeah, don't let Sanji know she's even more underage than Pudding.
Yeah, let's not do that. So then they get the transmission from Rob Lucci, and then they compliment it again how fantastic of an agent he is and for gathering all that information. But I think the panel with Saturn and Kizaru is so cool. I love how Oda draws Kizaru and everything too. Mm-hmm. And I think this is just a testament to his strength. He's just saying I can just get through all the lasers and I can just pop up,
Yeah, he's not disturbed at all by the defenses at all.
No. And these vice admirals don't even seem particularly incompetent. You know, they seem somewhat competent where they're talking about, you know, like, hey, if you have the Rokashiki techniques, just get to the beach. And remember, the pacifistas are vulnerable to cannon fire, so go with the sea beast instead, right? So there is like some strategy going on here. They're not just like complete cocky idiots, you know, which is kind of nice to see. You don't really see tactics too much in One Piece. So I thought that was cool. And then, yeah, Kizaru popping in was just, it was great to see that again. I think that technique, okay, so we definitely saw it in Sabaody.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm trying to think we saw it in Marineford, though. Like, at least the bouncing off of the building aspect, you know?
He definitely used it in Marineford, but I don't think that it bounced off as many things as this. But it shows how, like, he goes from the battleship, like, way into the actual, like, base of Egghead.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised that Sentomaru was able to block the kick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't necessarily see what he looks like after the kick, you know?
I mean, his guard's the toughest in the world.
Oh my gosh. King Elizabeth from Dressrosa, strong as what was his punch can KO Yonko?
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
but do you think that
that was a sick panel though? It was a cool panel.
Yeah. Do you think that we're gonna get more on Sentomaru as like a character, maybe even like his backstory, maybe? Because I think he's the least developed out of all the admirals. Well, the older admirals.
Wait, did you say Sentomaru or Kizaru? Sorry, I thought you said Sentomaru for a second.
Kizaru. Well, Sentomaru can probably play into the backstory too, but...
Yeah, I could definitely see it kind of unlocking him more here. I think it would be good for his character to get... So do you think Kizaru's going down this arc? Maybe that's a better question.
So, in rereading the earlier chapters before we diverted, it looked to me how it read was a flash forward to after the incident with them sailing away because Luffy's in Gear 5.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think he's permanently going down. No.
Kizaru?
Yeah, Kizaru's not permanently going down. But yeah, it'll be interesting because a lot of people like to slander the admirals. Not naming names. But even Luffy at the end of this is like, someone really strong is coming. And he's sweating. So.
Yep.
Do you think I think he's definitely referring to Kizaru, but I think it would be interesting if it was like a red herring, like someone else got on the island, because we know that one of Blackbeard's ships is coming too.
Yeah, well, the panel right before it is like, what's causing that light down there, you know? Yeah. So it seems to specify that.
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I mean, saying that it's most likely Kizaru.
Yeah, and I think so they might set up like kind of the hype, like a reminder, and I think Luffy is gonna get a lot of good hits on Kizaru and everything. But I think I do put Kizaru near the power of the Yonko. You know, I'm not gonna specify more beyond that. Like, I think it's comparable, and the idea that Luffy's just gonna have a fight with a guy in that tier level and take him down, I think is kind of ridiculous. You know, to do this at this end of the arc. You know,
I think on my last one, my last top 30, I put it was Luffy and then Kizaru. Like,
okay,
that was the gap or the barrier to entry to Luffy for the upper tiers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I also we've been talking in our reviews about this arc how it's kind of mirroring Sabaody, and it's even more apparent now, like Kizaru coming in.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to see like a reverse of what happened on Sabaody. Or at least them putting up a better fight against Kizaru this time, because they definitely have more power with them this time.
So could you see all the Straw Hats fighting Kizaru at once?
I don't know, because hockey kind of muddles things, because like only 4 members of the crew have it.
Well, but then there are those special devices that deal with the light too, on Egghead Island too.
I don't remember those. Which ones were?
They referenced that in the beginning. I think it was some gloves, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
That deal with light.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
So I think that's kind of like a convenient tool if they all went after Kizaru at once, kind of thing.
Yeah. Or maybe that's what Sensumaru's using.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I'm not going to say this last panel is indicative of a partial loss to the Straw Hats, but I think the fact that they explained their plan in detail, how they're going to get Vegapunk off, makes me think Vegapunk's not going to make it off. And Stussy might get captured too.
Yeah, because Lucci's definitely planning something. Like, he's looking at Stussy, he's taking inventory of the Straw Hats and the satellites and everything.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna betray them.
So let's see it this way. They're distracted with Kizaru. They're fighting. Lucci sneaks off, frees the Seraphim, gets control of them. Aren't they like kind of fucked at that point?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a harder time. Especially with a S-Snake being able to freeze everyone with her power.
Mm-hmm. Lucci can easily free them if Kizaru's there.
Yeah, because he's not really being like, okay, who headed to the ship? Okay, I guess it's Lilith, Luffy, Bonnie, and Frankie. So I mean, Sanji and Zoro are back with Lucci and Kaku. So,
but if Kizaru, like, let's say, deactivates the defenses, which I think he can do pretty quickly, and I think they're going to show like how strong he is, how he can just get through everything, and the Marines start pouring in, and then they're going to be distracted, then Lucci can kind of easily get it done, That's why I think there's too many variables against the Straw Hats in this place, where they could escape, and maybe that could be their W, but the idea that they're going to take down all the Vice Admirals, Kizaru, and get out with Stussy and Vegapunk, that's a bit of a leap,
Yeah.
And we're not even taking into account Saturn right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though, referring back to the flash forward that I think it is, like, he's acting like surprised about what happened. So I don't know. I think it's too early to tell, even though we're getting into the thick of things. It also kind of worries me that Robin is injured. I don't think she's going to be captured, but they might, Lucci might use that as some sort of thing because she's weakened. Try and capture her, and that draws the Straw Hats' attentions away from Vegapunk.
Yeah.
Because they would prioritize Robin more than Vegapunk.
Mm-hmm. Well, wouldn't that be a heck of a loss, too, if they got Robin taken away as well?
Well, yeah, because they have to go to Elbaf, which has all the Ohara research on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's definitely a possibility.
It's an interesting setup when the world government's like, oh, Nico Robin's there. And oh, there's the former kidnapper of Robin, Lucci. And something crazy is gonna happen here. Like Robin being captured by the world government. That could be big news too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I'm looking forward to see how Kizaru's gonna match up with the current Straw Hats, because this will be the first time that they encounter an admiral in the New World as an enemy.
Yeah, like for me, I do think Luffy's gonna get some good hits, but at the same time, I think the Admiral slanders may be humbled aggressively during this fight too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love the chapter. It's good to be back, and I'm really looking forward for the continuation of this. It's gonna be freaking amazing. But yeah, so please like and subscribe if you haven't, guys, and we will be seeing you soon. Peace.
See ya.